Hello, everyone. Hello. I pray all is well with y'all on this amazing June 8th, 2026. My name is Kobe Cornell Boone. For folks who is your first time watching me, I am the managing director and founder of Boone Capital. We are a private equity firm based in real assets, so ranches, land, timber, and all the wonderful things that come along with the outdoors. Man, today's video is a little bit different. So I actually debated doing this video for I would say about 2 weeks. And it's because I first wanted to make sure that I understood all the facts in and of myself. Had an opportunity to speak to some of my folks who are actual ranchers, who run cattle, not just landowners, which this thing does affect. I would say any landowner who is an outdoors person, or you're managing your wildlife on your property, whatever the case may be. But I wanted to take a second just to see how real this thing was. And it's always good whenever you're talking about things like this that have been eradicated. And in regards to today's video, I'm talking about screwworm, but things that have been eradicated, and then when we see it come back, if you will. So for today's video, what I want to do is talk a little bit about this new screwworm deal. I want to start off with some facts that I was able to actually pull from. And I want to go into a little bit of context of what I think this means for everybody, again, who's a landowner, rancher, outdoorsman, sportsman, right here on the cusp as I was going into hunt season in Texas, of course, as well. And what this kind of means in general. So let's start with some facts. So I pulled this one straight from the Texas Tribune, and that is the USDA confirmed the first U.S. New World screwworm case in roughly 60 years on June 3rd. So just last week, confirmed now from the USDA on June 3rd. It was in a calf in Zavala County, Texas, down in South Texas. And that was pulled from Texas Tribune, so that's been confirmed. Now, what's important to kind of know about screwworm in general is that New World screwworm, as they're calling it, is a larva. And for all intents and purposes, you can say a maggot for anybody that's familiar with a maggot. So it's a larva that feeds on the living tissue of an animal or a mammal, unlike any other fly larva that feed on dead tissue, if you will. So cuts, open wounds. I've seen some of my ranching folks are talking about when they cut the umbilical cord, how those jokers can get in there. It's a pretty nasty deal, not to be too graphic. And again, it can affect cattle, deer, exotics, horses, pets, wildlife. And in some rare cases, I know this has come up, and this was a big thing that I want to confirm before I said this, but in some rare cases, humans as well. And I'm actually pulling this straight from about 14 hours ago. Texas A&M had posted an article that they're speaking about, kind of getting more into this deal too. So pulled that from those guys. Now, in addition, additional Texas cases have since been confirmed. So I was looking this up earlier, that include another calf and now a dog. So another cow and a dog. Now, this is always tough to speak about, guys, because from everything that I've heard from folks, when these things get hold of an animal, it can be really nasty. USDA, Texas Animal Health Commission, and Texas A&M AgriLife are actively responding with surveillance, with quarantines, sterile fly releases, which I'll talk about a little bit more, is how they got rid of this back in the day, and monitoring efforts. So I know this is a point that's I would say, kind of controversial for folks that are in the spaces I'm in. I'm a member of several different conservation groups and hunting and outdoorsman organizations. Folks seem to be kind of in arms about this, arguably so. I mean, it's your livelihood a lot on the ranching side when it comes to cattle. But folks are kind of concerned with, I would say, the response, if you will, of taking the surveillance and the quarantine approach, as opposed to a more aggressive approach. And I think there's possibly good reason for that too. The biologists and the folks who were in charge to make the right decisions. But it is something I think everybody wants to get ahead of rather than later. But that last one I pulled straight from Reuters, which came out June 8th. So actually earlier today was one that I pulled. As I said, I want to make sure that I'm coming with you guys with the facts of what I'm seeing on this. Now, again, as I was going to earlier with this whole deal about the sterile flies, the parasite was actually eradicated back in the 60s. Some amazing, I call them geniuses, got together and said, hey, well, these flies essentially can't breed if we sterilize the males. And that's essentially what they did is they released these sterilized flies. Um, and it worked. So in the US in the 1960s, they were able to eradicate by gradually moving north through Central America and Mexico since 2023, and that's going back to the parasite, if you will. So, oh man, what's the facts? What am I thinking about? How does this play into? I think healthy wildlife, healthy livestock, healthy habitat, healthy water, and what should we do about it? So I had a quick little write up that I wanted to share with you guys today. And that is just this. So when any of those things come under pressure, as I mentioned, of having a healthy ecosystem, the entire system does feel it. And that's why issues like this, I think, matter and why it's worth having a conversation about, but having a conversation that's rooted in facts. So if you're running cattle, obviously you're paying attention. But again, if you're a deer hunter like myself, you should be paying attention, I think, too, because the health of the resource is directly tied to the value of the asset. I was having a conversation, looking, me and my wife's anniversary is coming up. So we're looking on getting on the APHIS this year. So literally, even in our conversations of coal bucks or management buck, if you will, or even a cow or a doe for my wife, for example, the health of your herd makes so much difference. Not just your trophy fees and what you're paying for the hunt or the experience, but also the health of your animals. When we talk about like the wildlife side of it, exotic wildlife side, so keeping that in mind on the health of our resource, I think one of the reasons that I wanted to make sure that I make this video is because I think we're entering a period where people are starting to realize that stewardship and economics are not actually separate conversations at all. They're the same conversation. And for many years, people looked at land and asked multiple questions, right? Like how many acres, how many cows can I run? How much, how's my timber? What kind of road frontage do I have? And today I think we're starting to ask more, I think, deeper questions about what does my water situation look like? What does my the wildlife situation look like? The health. I mean, we've got a doe that's been coming back and forth underneath some pin oak trees that we have on our family property, and I'm not just looking to see, okay, is she bringing a buck in there, or whatever. I'm looking at her health. I'm looking how's she looking right now for the summer, health wise. Okay, I'm looking to see does she have any infections or things that visible that I can see. Like that matters when you're talking about your local deer herd or your local livestock habitat, whatever the case may be. Um, Animals that you're looking at, and I think those are the kind of conversations that are coming up when we talk about managing. How are we managing and operating as the best stewards on a proactive scale? I would say, or a proactive nature, if you will, to make sure that we're ensuring the best health of our habitat, of our animals, and in this particular case, in very rare cases, of ourselves as well. I think that's very important. So I think as a solution, this is too early in the game. Nobody has a crystal ball, if you will. I think immediately there is enough room for concern. Um, I think there is a great, I think this is a great time and space for education, for sure. I think awareness matters. But again, I didn't want this video to be a doom and gloom. I want it to be something that I think folks should pay more attention to. I think how we think about invasive species when it comes to foliage and as far as plants, whatever on our property, we need to be taking that same type of concern about prevention manners as it comes to our livestock, to our animals. I think that's important too. We have been extremely blessed that a lot of things, like I said, this in this case, have been eradicated by our parents or forefathers, have done an amazing job with conservation practices before our generation. And somebody like me who's 31 years old is looking at this thing and saying, hey, how do we best operate going forward? How do we, across our organizations who we support, make sure that we best position ourselves to protect, again, the land, the resources, the animals that God has given us to be able to steward and lead for that next generation. So, in so many words, again, I'm not a scientist by any measure, but I am watching this thing closely. I think it's something that's really important. And I am eagerly anticipating how Texas Parks and Wildlife and other organizations will come together to make sure that we get this thing nipped in the bud soon, because it's in the back of everybody's mind. It's in the back of everybody's mind. Now, I'll wrap this video up, not to draw it out too long. Like I said, I'm planning a hunt this August for me and my family, me and my wife, to get some time on the outdoors. And, I'm talking to outfitters and speaking to different ranch owners. And as far as North Texas, I don't know to Oklahoma, actually. And I don't think there's anybody, whether you're talking high fence, low fence, uh, cattle, deer, whatever, exotic. I don't think there's anybody that's not looking at this thing and saying the same thing. Like, hey, how serious is this? How serious is this thing? How serious is it going to get? I think South Texas is just the one that got it first. So, yeah, if you like this video, if you enjoy this type of content, not always super finance driven, leave a comment in the comment section below. Again, if you're interested in what we're doing, we've got a fund set up right now for accredited investors only. We're looking at 356 acres in Dallas, Texas. Beautiful property, former sand and gravel quarry mine that we're looking to disposition, to be a public accessible space for generations to come, with some tax aware incentives in there as well, with the K1s that will come out from Section 179, 168K, and things of that nature. And some conservation pieces in there as well. So if you're interested in that type of deal, we'd love to have a conversation with you. You can schedule a call with us. Visit boonecapital.co. That's boonecapital.co. And we look forward to speaking with you. Have a great one. God bless.